Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. That's part of a poem called Invictus. They made a movie about it. It was concerning the president of South Africa. Morgan Freeman played the character. Let me say this very succinctly. It is a wonderful thing that we're doing here. It's never been done before. So really, we are on hallowed ground, sacred ground, holy ground. Many of the slaves that worked this ground and lived here and contributed to the growth of Winston and Salem, many of them, we will not know who they are. But there are some, we know who they are. It's right down there at Phillips Chapel, down in Old Salem. Let me say that congratulations. Everything that everybody has already said, I will ditto and say the same thing. A bit of history. When James Hunter called me and asked if I would help him forming an organization, eventually becoming LOP, the Liberian Organization of the Piedmont. We've traveled to different parts of the state. The last time we traveled together was to Charlotte, talking about LOP. Those of us who are here, you have a tremendous obligation on you now that maybe you did not have before. Tell
the story.
The story.
They won't know it.
You can't tell it if you don't know it.
Man.
So apprise yourself of knowing the story so that you can tell the story of Africans from Liberia. Some of us didn't even know that they helped start this city. This history was hidden. But now that you know it, you have an obligation to share it. Not just today. So many times we do.
Man. So, the reason why I wanted to play that video is, number one, you see a young Ibn Daril, right? That's back when I had, you know what I'm saying? That's back when I had long braids, man. It wasn't even that long. But that was the Honorable Larry Wamble, who was a part of the 53rd House. You feel what I'm saying? Established 1951 by way of 1935, the year my grandma and my mother was born. My mother was born in 1951, and my grandma, was born in 1935. So, there they are. Shout out to Abdullah for sharing this picture with me. That's my matriarchs. That's my mom and my mama. And a lot of y'all know my cousin Ashley. That's her and her mama. You feel what I'm saying? Amber Baker. Baker is Bakur. That's also Arabic. And then that's my main man, Jack, and my brother. You feel me? So, I've been in a lot of talks. I represent my people behind the scenes, right? So how on that last live, I read the full definition of liberty, and it was talking about community rights and individual rights. And what you have to realize is that these communities were created strategically, right? They were created strategically to fall into the colonial plan, right? But in that, you have still in the community, the individuals, the living, right? We are the living. We are carrying their legacy. That is my mother, 1951, and my mama, right? And Larry Womble was my brother. That was his principal. You see what I'm saying? So it's the legacy, bro. Get 1975, Tell the Two Cities. Long live Jack. Tomorrow will be Jack and Dottie, who's buried with each other. This year, as of this year, they now buried with each other, right? In the crypt, right? Underneath a Duke Chapel. Allah. They said they put a marble slab over you, Dottie. Bismillah. Man. So, man, my main man, Jack. Golly. You don't know Winston if you don't know these folk. You do not know the Trey folk if you do not know these people right here. All of them. By name. Bakor. Free the Real. Man. So I've been having a lot of conversations with people, man, about our people. And I'm like, look, y'all got to stop labeling us as African American, right? Because that's throwing us off our swivel. And African American is a modern term. That's a modern term that was given to our people, right? And that wasn't who they referred to themselves as. They knew exactly who they were. But however, like how we read in this last live about these communities that were created, this was the name of Happy Hill, as you saw, right? And how it said the definition of liberty, you go back and play it, about how liberty comes after slavery, right? And so, you know, just being aware of this term and the communities that was created, because what they did, and this is why, you know, and I've been serving, you see, I've been on the ground with it in Happy Hills since then, right? You feel me? Like, you see, man, that's powerful. He reading
Black as a pit from pole to pole.
I think whatever guys may be from my unconquerable soul, right? And that's me back there, right? And right there in Happy Hill with the Liberians. So there were a lot of people from Liberia there, and I connected with them and partied with them. You feel what I'm saying? They know how to party. These are West Africans, you know, from the Gold Coast. And I was reading the final pages in chapter 1 of Indian Givers, and it was talking about how it was talking about how the slavery came about, and it talked about how they came from the Gold Coast after all of the other trade commodity the traded commodities were exhausted. So the gold and silver from Potosi, and that really financed all of the gold and silver that was in Europe after it had exhausted in the Gold Coast, right? The next thing that was leveraged was the people. So people were traded as commodities because of what the people of the Gold Coast could produce. And at first, the first slaves were actually Europeans, but they could not do the work of the Negroes because of the melanin and of the containment in the sun. We could work throughout in the sun, in the midday, in the middle of the summer. This is, what I'm saying this as a collect. But there was what you have to overstand. It talks about in those last few pages of Indian Givers, it says that there was only a small portion compared to the whole of slaves who went into America, the colony. And the colonies weren't necessarily set up for slaves. However, they could not exist without the labor of these prisoners of war. Okay. Now again, it talked about consent. Okay, I think that we got that. All right. We talked about consent. I feel like there were a lot of consenting slaves as well. And I say that because in modern terms, that's like Jordan. The party. Here. Jordan. Yeah. I'm a real dad, I feel weird, because it's a drift of humanity, generations that have went without having a father, and from a cultural standpoint, it's like the fathers aren't even accepted in society anymore. So when you are a active father, you feel like a fish out of water in this society because they're not used to seeing, really involved parents. And right now, I'm in the process of making sure my son potties in the middle of the night so you don't wet the bed. Come on, boy. Okay? Love you so much, Jordan. Alright. And, I do this work for my children. That's what inspires me the most. I'm actually reading them Indian gibberish. That's how I'm reading to them. So, like when I read look, I'm gonna just read this. So, it says that Asia experienced temporary gain from the discovery of America, but Africa suffered. America had all of the silver and gold Europe needed, and this destroyed the African gold market. Now, remind you, they had gold and silver in North Carolina, right? Okay. The first gold mint was in Charlotte. Okay. Cities such as Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire, of which it was part, crumbled as merchants abandoned the ancient trade routes. The replacement of the Mediterranean trade of cloth, beads, leather, metals, upon which the Africans had become dependent. The Africans was now only had one commodity left, and that these Europeans wanted, and that was slaves. So the Africans sold their own people out, okay? For centuries, African merchants had sold a small and steady number African merchants, not European, not the white man, it was your own people, to the Middle East. But with the decline of the European trade, with the opening of America, the slave trade became a boom. The Africans thus became victims of the discovery of America, as they surely did the American Indians. So let's talk numbers. It says a few years after the discovery of Potosi, it says that it brought 6,000 Africans to work in the mines. Now, I'm going to go back and see, that last joint uploaded for shit show. That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So, Slady Atmore. Slady Allahu Akbar. I feel like I'm getting hot. I'm trying to find that article. Okay, there go the original article right there. But I'm going to reference it. I always like to reference because I know I take a lot of people's time. So if I'm going to take your time, I'm going to take your time and give accurate information that cannot be debunked, like you would have in published books to debunk this type of shit. So this is, see, where we at? Sullivan. Okay, 50. Shit. I might have to go back and get a better version of this shit. Let me see. Matter of fact, I can do it quicker. Historians estimate it was about 40 to 100. Let me see. Historians guesstimate. It's right here. All right, bet. It's right there. It says that historians estimate about 400,000 slaves were imported into the colonial America. Only 400,000, right, were imported into colonial America and the United States from the